Let's cross live now to the Prime Minister in Canberra, who's speaking with our National Affairs editor, Paul Bongiorno.
Good evening and thanks for being with us, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, we have been here before in the sense we've had an agreement that's fallen over in the Parliament. Now, there's a lot of parliamentary scrutiny to go on. Are you convinced that you can hold the Greens and the Independents? And it's been suggested even some of your own backbench, say coal seat backbenchers, may not be happy to support it.
I am confident that the package that I announced today will go through the Parliament and we will start pricing carbon on the 1st of July next year. And what that means, it's really very simple at its heart. Around 500 of our biggest polluters, big businesses, will for the first time in this nation's history pay a price per tonne of carbon pollution they put into our atmosphere. At the moment, they can do it for free. From the 1st of July next year, they'll pay a price.
How did the phone hookup go today? I mean, you left it till this morning to tell your backbench. Are you sure they're all happy?
We've been working hard with Labor members, with my ministerial team to get this package right, so that it protects jobs. The coal industry, the steel industry, manufacturing, jobs have been assisted through this package. And of course too, we've worked hard to ensure that we're helping families with 9 out of 10 households getting the benefit of a tax cut or a payment increase.
On that point, 3 million households will be worse off, and by no means very wealthy ones.
Well, of course, there will be people who do not receive a full amount to assist them with the impact that carbon pricing will have on them. But let's be very clear here. We're talking about an increase in the cost of living in the Consumer Price Index of 0.7%, less than 1%. And when we're talking about the numbers of households here, almost 6 million households will get sufficient in tax cuts or payment increases to meet the average expected impact of them on them of the carbon price. More than 4 million will get a 20% buffer.
It was made today that despite all that you've done today, despite this package, almost 100 million tonnes of abatement are going to have to be bought overseas. In other words, you really haven't delivered a reduction in our emissions.
We will be changing the amount of carbon pollution that we generate in this country. To date, Paul, as our economy has grown, the amount of carbon pollution we generate has grown, and that would happen from now till the end of time if we didn't do something to cut carbon pollution in the most efficient way, and that's by putting a price on carbon.
That you're increasing?
We will see a reduction of 160 million tonnes of carbon pollution in 2020. That's the equivalent of 45 million cars. That's a lot. Now, yes, the scheme has international linking, and that's to make sure that we are cutting carbon pollution at the cheapest possible price.
Prime Minister, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Prime Minister Julia Gillard speaking with our National Affairs editor, Paul Bongiorno. Well, I'm joined now by Opposition Leader Tony Abbott. Mr Abbott, thanks for your time this morning. We've heard the Prime Minister saying there that 9 out of 10 households will receive compensation, that this carbon policy will keep our economy competitive, protect our environment and do the right thing for our children and future generations. You dispute those figures, saying that 60% of Australians would either be worse off or come out line ball.
That's right. Millions and millions of Australians will be worse off, and at the end of all this, we're not actually going to reduce our emissions. Emissions will be higher in 2020 than they are now. The only way we can meet our emissions reduction target is by buying, as Paul Bongiorno just said, about 100 million tonnes of abatement overseas. That means Australian companies shoveling $3 billion plus to overseas carbon credit producers, and we all know the potential of this to be scammed. The other problem is that if we do buy our abatements overseas, the government won't get the revenue to keep paying the compensation. So this is a fiscal disaster for the government and a financial disaster for Australian families.
The Minerals Council says this current proposal is like taking a baseball bat to the Australian economy. What guarantee would you give Australians that you can actually guarantee a clean energy future for our nation without costing jobs or hurting the economy? How would you do it?
Well, as the Australian Industry Group report a couple of weeks ago made clear, our plan to reduce emissions doesn't hurt consumers and it doesn't hurt industry. All the money would be spent at home and it's all to be found from savings in the budget. Our plan is capped, it's costed, it's fully funded from savings in the budget, and we will deliver the Australian people a tax cut without a carbon tax, and pensioners will be better off because there won't be a carbon tax under us.
Mr Abbott, the Prime Minister is adamant that she will get this through Parliament. She says that she's knocked the brick wall down. What are you going to do to push this through or to stop it going through?
Well, I think that there are millions of Australians who are very concerned about their cost of living and about their jobs, and a lot of them are in Labor electorates. There are Labor MPs in steel seats, coal seats, motor manufacturing seats, who frankly should be standing up for the jobs of their constituents and not making excuses for this toxic tax from a failing Prime Minister. Now, I don't believe that her caucus is solid. I think there's a lot of unhappiness in the caucus. I don't think anyone should count on this tax passing through the Parliament. Sure, she might have the Greens and the Independents on side. Let's face it, the Greens wrote this package for her, but I don't think she's got her own party on side.
I have to leave it there. Opposition Leader Tony Abbott, thank you.